Thank you very much for being here again. And our theme for tonight is about China's tech momentum. Everybody knows that it's a red hot market. The question is, how long is it going to last? So we have really a group of experts here today to talk about that. And I think it's a global phenomenon as well, too, in the startup world, that every market is hot, but probably China is the hottest of them. So I'd like to welcome to the stage, we're going to start with our Tech Chat series, which are one-on-one Q&As with a leading entrepreneur who is interviewed by a leading commentator. So I'd like to welcome to the stage Frank Yu from Curator of Startup Digest and Clement Song from AiNemo. Thank you.
Thank you very much for being here. It's great to be back at Silicon Dragon. It's very exciting to see old faces and new faces. We don't actually have much time for these one-on-one talk chats, so we only have 10 minutes, so we'll get to the point. And I'm very happy to introduce Clement Song, the CEO of AiNemo. That's the working name of the company. So you actually get a very privileged access to see and know about this product because it's only just beginning to distribute, right? Okay. So Clement is a very special person for me because not only did we both work at Microsoft together, I was the first Xbox business guy, he became the first Xbox China business guy, but we're also both Microsoft, but we are also Microsoft husbands. Our wives are currently very senior at Microsoft. But I also used to work for Clement as well. And so I've known him for many years, so I'm very excited. I'd like also to hear more of his story because he's been living in Guangdong province and he's only recently returned to Beijing. So could you just tell me a little bit from the time from when you left Microsoft to what you're doing in terms of startups?
Right, so after leaving Microsoft in 2008, I started my first company, ECD Sky, and then I won't spend much time talking about that company, but cut that story short, I sold that company in 2011 to YY. So that's why I have to move between Guangzhou and Beijing, and that's a very special experience for me because I went through the kind of a growth state startup when they had about 600 people, and after 2.5 years, after when I left, they had about 2,000 people. And then before, when I joined, of course, after I joined, a year and a half after I joined, they went IPO in NASDAQ, and then that was a very successful IPO, and then I was very fortunate to go through that process as well. And then also my experience in Guangzhou helped me actually solve the needs for my new product, which is 小鱼在家. The code name is AiNemo. And the brand is 小鱼在家 for the China market, and you can actually buy the product at Jingdong today. We put it online just very recently. And you want me to go ahead and talk about why?
Well, let me yes. So knowing for the past, you were basically an Xbox, you're a platform guy, but now all of a sudden you're working on hardware. So why, and which is very hot, especially in the market and lifestyle. So why the transition?
Well, actually, Xbox is a hardware, software, and services product. So now we're back to doing the hardware, software, and services product. And then, of course, I was in the more of an home entertainment business before, and my first startup was also in that field. But really, I think what I learned from my first startup is it's really hard to build a platform from the get-go. So we have to see a real hardcore user need, and then just to nail that need. And then, if you can grow, if you can really get a lot of users on your product, then you can think about product like a platform. So although I am a platform guy, but we really have to kind of come back to the root of a user need. So that's AiNemo will become a platform if it is successful. But at the very beginning, we have a real need that we're addressing.
Okay. So very briefly, right. So what does AiNemo do?
Right. So most of the people who were born in the 70s and 80s, like myself in China, actually are single child, and then their parents. Most of them actually live apart. They live apart from their parents. And then some of my colleagues, I think a lot of your colleagues probably as well, young couples, as soon as their kid is born, they actually let their parents to take care of the kid because they have to both work. They don't have time and energy to take care of the kid. So today's, the not being able to be together with your family, parents, kid, is actually a norm. It's actually a norm. So the traditional way of connecting, using mobile, use FaceTime, use Skype, use phone calls, is what I call interrupt-based communication. Interrupt-based communication, I have a message to deliver to you. So I make a call, you stop what you're doing, answer my phone, we get the message through, and hung up. So that's interrupt-based communication. Interrupt-based communication is the most efficient in delivering a message. But when we're trying to connect with our family members, with our parents, with our kids, the goal, the need, is actually not to deliver a message. So the interrupt-based communication is not the right tool, right method for staying together with your family members. I actually got to really understand this need when I was actually in Guangzhou. And my 2-year-old daughter was in Beijing, my wife was in Beijing, my parents live in a different city. We use WeChat video, we use QQ, try to establish this connection. But I think most of the people here, if you have a kid and you're traveling, you will know what I'm talking about, is try to set up a Skype call or a FaceTime call. That's like, you have to call ahead of time to arrange it. And then at the right time, and then one person have to be a moving stand, holding up an iPad, chasing after your kid to say, hey, say something to dad, say something to mommy, right? So that's actually, that conversation stops pretty much after 10 seconds. And then that's not gonna really satisfy the need for you to feel together with your parents or with your kids. So what we have done with 小鱼在家 is really to change the way how we connect with our family, to allow us to participate, to have a shared experience with our family members. So what we do is you have a hardware product, 小鱼在家, you put it at home, plug it in, and then connect to the Wi-Fi. So that's an accessory to your mobile. So everything else is controlled on your mobile. And then you download an app, also called 小鱼在家. So this is my app here, and then I actually in 3 seconds I'm home. So this is my home live right now. Slide it open, and then we are live. So that's just how we engage with our family right now. And every family who are connected to 小鱼在家 are in the same circle, and then they can subscribe to the different events that we set up, or actually, for example, baby crying, strangers coming in, daddy coming home, grandparents actually, getting up in the morning. So these events you can subscribe to, and then that can bring your family back together to the home. Oh, see, my kid is actually here. Right. And then, okay, so, I'm not gonna touch her, sorry. Right. And then, so this is my parents' home. I just, my parents live in Las Vegas, so it's actually their nighttime right now. And then I can also just teleport back to my office. And so this is my office right now. 3 seconds, and I'm in a conversation with my colleagues. Hi, Chris. 我们正在做演示呢，没关系。
So we're not going to wake your parents
Right. We're not gonna, yeah. So basically, and then on the upside, 小鱼在家 is actually a helper. It understands, uses face recognition, speech recognition, understands the family members, and can interact with your family members in a very personalized way. And I'll just show it to you because it's a small audience. 小鱼帮忙。
有什么可以帮您？
今天北京天气怎么样？
北京市今天多云
So
转晴。
we actually have,
16
many services. Like people can call, ask for weather, ask for the pollution, ask to play a song, the recipe, and then we have many different kinds of services that we are constantly updating, in the back end, so that this becomes a very personalized helper to your family members, and that's the gist of it.
Okay, that's great. So let me switch the tone a little bit more. But so you've gone from very different stages of being an entrepreneur, from a very early stage to a much more mature one. Do you think it's getting easier or harder to raise capital now than say what was a few years ago?
Well, definitely, there are a lot more capital, definitely, right? And I think the angel investment and then early stage investment is much more active than back in 2008, 2009. And I think there are also a lot more serial entrepreneurs coming out, people who have graduated from their previous startups, like myself, and then also people leaving their kind of Tencent, Baidu, starting their companies. So they're more interesting and then very mature, more mature entrepreneurs, I think, in the market as well. So I think, definitely it's much better. I think it's much easier to raise capital comparing to 2008.
And also, did you sort of switch from like software to sort of hardware? Do you feel like that the type of company is different because the supply chain, the time frames are different? But right now, Guangdong and Shenzhen is hot, very hot. So what do you think about sort of this hardware buzz that's sort of going on in China?
It's actually very hard to do a startup in the kind of full stack, right? So what they call full stack. Basically, you need a hardware, software, supply chain, marketing, sales. So that's a full stack startup. It's actually very, very hard. I mean, to do a high quality product, and you need a very full spectrum team to be able to actually execute on this. So my first startup, we had a couple founders who had a little experience, but very kind of passionate entrepreneurs. But now in our my other co-founders, they have 20 years experience doing supply chain, doing hardware, and of course the core technology we built it ourselves, the communication technology, and then that actually takes time. So without actually having been doing this for the last 10 years, 20 years, there's no way we can actually do this in this short amount of time. Also, I think a hardware startup requires more capital up front, right? And just to do the hard tooling and then just do the all the designs, and that actually takes a lot of money. And then after you get the product done, then more questions come up because you have to enter mass production and then quality control. Yeah, and that's basically, I think a hardware startup requires a different set of skills than just like a pure software startup. I think it's much harder.
So you learn very fast.
Well, also you kind of put together a more kind of a complementary team to do this.
Okay. Well, so our 10 minutes went by pretty fast, and 10 minutes already. 10 minutes already. So Clement has to leave for an appointment later, but he'll still be sticking around before that. And also, his colleague will be here to demo the product later on as well after.
Okay.
Right?
Well, good. I
Thank
can
you
see
very
you have a lot of energy for your startup. I like that energy. Thanks a lot.
Thank you for having me.